Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Going to be doing another episode where I take a look at the old PlayStation Magazine back issues here that I've collected from forever ago, the late 90s I guess. And today we're taking a look at issue number 2, which is my favorite issue actually of the entire magazine run, just because I love Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I love their cover art that they've got here. I just think it's a really cool piece of unofficial art. And really, this was a big part in what got me to buy that game was what this magazine had to say about it. And the reviews were so glowing and the previews looked really cool. And I think I mentioned this in the last episode for issue 1, but they did a great job of getting me excited for a game that was in what was considered like an outdated style of play, right? Like the 2D sprites and side-scrolling and that was kind of on its way out, making way for all of this new, this shift for 3D gaming. And so, yeah, Castlevania was just such a huge game for me. So anyway, getting back to the issue here, they've got some Halloween games covered, Nightmare Creatures, Clock Tower. We've got some really cool controllers and stuff that they take a look at, which I appreciate. So let's dive into it, huh? All right, inside covers, an ad for a Hercules game, which I did not play, and another ad for Final Fantasy VII. Giant game at the time. Giant game. So down here in the corner, I love that they do this every issue. They talk about the creation of the art for the cover. And you can see a couple of different drafts that they've got there, and the subtle changes that they made between each version and how they settled on the final cover. That's very cool. And then over on the other side, returning team from the other issue that we looked at, the first issue, and they do this a lot. They do this thing where they have like a little screenshot and a caption, and I always kind of like that. 2 turntables and a microphone referencing. For me, referencing that Beck song, Where It's At. Tomb Raider 2 ad, double page ad. Again, monster game of the time. Table of contents here. Get the page to stop slipping on me. So they cover Clock Tower, Parappa, PlayStation accessories. They've got more Final Fantasy VII walkthrough. And then you can see over here in the index the stuff that they review and preview. So let's moving on here. News at the time, they're talking about the dual analog pad, which is so funny. When it came out in the States, it didn't have Rumble. I remember I owned one because I guess there was some, patent issue or something like that. I forget exactly why, but we wouldn't get Rumble in those for some time later. Already talking about possible Parappa the Rapper 2 there a little bit. I showing that screenshot. A little bit about will Final Fantasy VII pave the way for more US RPGs? Boy, will it ever. Yeah, the PS1 was a JRPG monster back then. So many great JRPGs from back in those days. So Final Fantasy VIII to begin development? No kidding. New Square Fighter coming to PlayStation. Final Fantasy toys hitting the market. Red Asphalt. I did not play that. I don't really remember what that was. Import section here, right? Talking a little bit about some things. I think they mentioned in one of these, I don't remember if it's this issue or the last one, they mentioned Einhander was coming. I guess it wasn't this one. I'm looking at it right now. I don't see any mention of that, but Einhander was another game that ended up being really big for me. So, Castlevania Symphony of the Night getting reviewed. You can see here it gets a 5 out of 5. And they were just so hot for that game. They loved it. And I'm glad they did, because they were a big part, like I said, in me playing it and loving it as well. Bushido Blade getting reviewed at 4.5. That's pretty good, right? Croc. I remember that game, man. Croc, everybody was hoping that would be the PlayStation's answer to Mario 64 for like a cute 3D platformer. And I think it was okay, but just not quite there, not on the level of Mario. but I didn't really care. I already had Tomb Raider. That was my Mario. Clock Tower just got a 3. Apparently they had some beefs with that one here and there. Parappa the Rapper, that got a 5. I remember Parappa getting a 5 and how much this magazine hyped that game because it came out the same day as Tomb Raider 2, and I was the one guy at GameStop that was in line for Parappa the Rapper. Everybody else was there to buy Tomb Raider when the store opened. And I remember the clerk going, Tomb Raider? And I said, no, man, Parappa the Rapper. And they're like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. Ogre Battle, only getting a 3. That's one of those games, I feel like people hold that in high regard, and there it is getting a 3. It's a little surprising. I remember that. I never got to play it, so. Okay, big spread on Metal Gear Solid, right? Which would just be the biggest game in '98, the following year. So, massive, massive game. It makes sense that they would be talking about it already. Nightmare Creatures. I'll have a video on this on the channel somewhere, probably under my favorite games. I really liked Nightmare Creatures. It wasn't perfect, but I did think it was pretty fun. Good atmosphere, liked the music and stuff. Definitely felt like a good game to play around Halloween at the time. Ad for a terrible Mortal Kombat spin-off game. Ray Tracers, which I never played. Marvel Superheroes. So, love those Marvel games, love the fighting games. Didn't actually play this back then when it came out. I wouldn't discover these until a little while later. Ad for Oddworld 1. That's so funny, the little quote they got up by the guy. Oh, I feel the rage. He's just so, like, perfectly late 90s design, just ugly, generic, angry, military, crew cut having dude. Just all around dumb with that arm that just looks dumb. I guess that game turned out pretty okay. I never really played it, just because I couldn't take the main character. I don't know, for whatever reason, I just thought he looked stupid. I couldn't get into it. Armored Core, didn't play that. Or did I? No, I played Armored Core, just never played any of the sequels. That series didn't click for me necessarily. Street Fighter EX plus Alpha. I love this game. I love Street Fighter EX plus Alpha. I think they review that in issue 3 of PSM, and that game was huge for me. I'm so excited that Fighting Layer EX is coming out in 2018 because it's going to bring back these characters that I haven't seen since this game came out over 20 years ago. But yeah, absolutely love Street Fighter EX plus Alpha. Some terrible Batman and Robin game. Pandemonium 2. This Pandemonium 2 notable because of the, again, just the blatant, over-the-top sex appeal thing. Like, go for the lowest hanging fruit. Different time, I guess that's all I can say about that. It was totally normal back then to see that kind of stuff in, like, just so, I don't know, blatantly in your face and like the marketing for games like that and stuff. And very of the time, very like late 90s, you'd turn on WWF, or I guess WWE now, and you'd see like, a women's lingerie match or something going on, right? Where they'd be like wailing on each other, and the object was to strip the other one down to their bra and panties. Like, it was just, it's hard to describe if you didn't live through it. Like, I don't know how to kind of put you in that space, but yeah, it was just kind of like a nationwide frat party kind of thing, I guess. And it seemed normal, at 17 when this stuff happened, and didn't seem weird to me. It seemed super cool. So, Ghost in the Shell. This was actually a pretty good game. Man, I should really track down a copy of that. I never had it. I got to rent it once, I believe, and played it for a little while and really liked it, but then never ended up securing a copy. And now, of course, it's worth more than I think most people would want to pay for it, and it's not on PlayStation Network either, so that's kind of a bummer. And here right away, big old lid sticker, the Resident Evil lid sticker. The Happy Halloween note on the back. Very cool. Formula 1 and NHL on the back on those pages. I didn't really play those games. Didn't really care. Didn't care about Jimmy Johnson's VR football. Now Versus is kind of notable because Versus was a fighting game that got a lot of coverage for its day, but wasn't very good, I didn't think. I thought the characters were all very cheesy. You can see that pimp character and then that girl. I don't know what her deal is other than that she's got pants that are too big for her. But I guess these people were based on like real people that apparently the development studio knew, which is kind of interesting, right? Can't say that about, I don't think, any other fighting games really, at least not from back then. Moto Racer GP on the next page. That was a big game for me. I've got a video on my channel of that if you want to track it down under my favorite games. That is a great game. It still plays well. I still love it. Such a great game. It's a shame that that series kind of fell by the wayside over the years. I'd love to see it make a great return. Mega Man X4. I did not play this back then. I wasn't a big Mega Man guy. Really, looking at this now though, looks cool. Looks pretty good. Good, big characters and stuff. Very colorful. Maybe I should have played that back then. Could have been my thing. Test Drive. I did not really get into that series, nor did I get into Hardwood Heroes. Oh, check out this glove advertisement, right? This thing is so ugly. I don't know if that was actually useful for anybody. I don't know. I would be interested in talking to somebody who had one of those and really liked it, because I guess it makes it a one-handed controller, right? Which would be useful for I'm sure a lot of people who have like you know, physical disability or whatever. So there's that aspect of it, I guess. But I don't know. It looks like it would be super hard to use. Looks like the buttons would be all like underneath your fingers, right? So like, but in a row, and you'd have to, I don't know, it just looks difficult. Game Day, football series that used to be around back then before Madden and EA snapped up the rights for NFL stuff and made it exclusive to Madden. More on Test Drive 4. That was an ad that we saw before, but I think that Test Drive 4 game ended up being all right. I remember hearing people talk about that, like that was good. Maybe reading stuff on it, I'm not sure. The Bug Riders, I don't know what that is. I don't remember it. I didn't play it. Bravo Air Race, I didn't play that either. Gex Enter the Gecko. Like I said, Gex felt like he was kind of all over the place back then. So this was a cool feature that I like that they did. Talking about all the different controllers and stuff that you could get, all the different things you could plug into your PlayStation, and then they go so far as to rate all of them and give them, you know, a number of stars and stuff. Really like that, because it's cool now, all these years later, to know what this stuff was, right? So if you like see it at a convention or something, and you're not sure, like, oh, what was the deal? Who made this? You know, what was the verdict on that? You can check this old issue here and see what they had to say about it back in the day. Let's see, moving on here. I know they covered joysticks and so, yeah, here we go. Right on this next page. Now this is funny too, because their top rated joystick is that one up at the top there, when it should really be this one. It should be the Namco stick. As a fighting game fan and as a fight stick fan as well, I can tell you that the Namco stick is still revered to this day. Like, people look for that stick and want to track it down and are always trying to buy it at you know, various conventions and stuff, or game swaps or whatever. It was built really well, and they only gave it 3 stars in the magazine here, which I kind of get, because they say in the little write-up there that their biggest beef with it is that it should be an 8-button stick and not a 6-button stick. And yeah, okay, I'll concede that, but I don't know, I think it's interesting to see it get a 3 and not like a full 5 or 4 or whatever, because it's just been, you know, so well regarded over the years. And they've based other sticks off the design for that one. Like one that I have that's from Mad Catz, the Tekken Hybrid stick, is supposed to be modeled directly after that stick. Or like that was the inspiration for that one. It's kind of like the successor to it. So here they got a Clock Tower walkthrough. And this is, again, super useful stuff for when you didn't have the internet back then, right? Didn't have YouTube videos to watch somebody play through something. And they've got these great inserts here for Bushido Blade and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And I'll just kind of slide this over here. So they've got everything that the merchant can sell and what you can sell to him, as well as how much you'll get for it. And then they've got all these different relics, and then they've got the commands for all of the spells that Alucard can learn, which is really cool because you have to buy the scrolls to learn the spell at the store, unless you can discover it on accident by just pulling off the command list, right? So they just kind of saved everybody a bunch of money by publishing that, because you don't have to buy the scrolls to learn the spells. You can just do them. Parappa the Rapper, right? So they kind of walk you through how to successfully get through that game. Let's scoot this over a little bit. Some general tips and stuff, which is cool. And then back to Symphony of the Night here. They got more stuff breaking down like different possible endings and different shield rod combinations. That's very useful. Also some things about making money fast. Also useful. A lot of good stuff in here. Oh, and this map, check this out, right? So they got the location of like most of the really important stuff in the game, like all mapped out for you right here, which is super, super useful. I used this all the time back then. And I don't know, like if you do a general internet search, I bet this is the map that still comes up to this day. I bet it's probably cribbed right from these pages if you want to like find everything in Symphony of the Night. More stuff for Symphony of the Night. It's a really deep game. For being a 2D side-scrolling kind of RPG Metroidvania thing. Very deep game. Ad for MLB. More Final Fantasy stuff, right? So again, Final Fantasy VII, big game. Not a surprise that they would spend a good chunk of time covering it here and walking through different things in it. Helping you recruit the hidden characters. More on that. Coupons, back when you could actually cut out a coupon and take it to a store. I guess that still happens, but you just don't see that in like buying video games anymore now, you know. Now it's like you join a club or something and you automatically get 20% off or whatever at the checkout. More code stuff, more tip lines, Game Shark stuff, more codes. And letters section. And again, they've got the return of the link up here along the bottom where they publish people's names and addresses and emails and stuff, which again, like I still can't get over that. Like it's just such a different world now. You totally wouldn't put that in a magazine anymore. But back then, you know, you wanted to be pen pals with somebody so you could talk about games, because games just weren't as mainstream as they are now, I guess. I don't know. Like it's just such a different culture now. Games weren't like 100% cool yet back then either. So, you know, some people still thought of that stuff as just for kids. So if you were trying to find other like-minded people to talk about this stuff, you know, internet not being what it is now and all that, you get where I'm going with that. More Ask Sony stuff. What did they talk about actually before I flipped the page? Why don't they make larger memory cards? Yeah, that's a good question. I wouldn't know the answer to that. They're mentioning that there's another card out there by a company called Interact. If you remember, those are like those 25 times memory cards all in one or whatever, where they're just layered over several times. And they're saying, well, we feel like the size is good enough, basically, and there's no quality assurance for that stuff. So, pretty straightforward answer, I guess. So, the top of this section, like this, because here, how quick can you get a perfect on Dracula and get all the endings for Clock Tower, right? Good stuff. Like if you were back, you know, playing games back then and you wanted to get the most out of your games, having a big magazine like this lay out a challenge like that for you to compete in was really a cool thing and helped you get more mileage out of your games. So Resident Evil 2 getting covered in the next issue, which is funny because neither of those characters survived and made it into the actual game when it came out. They were both gone. That is the old character art for Resident Evil 2 before they overhauled it and put Leon and Claire into the game. Pretty interesting there, looking back and seeing that kind of stuff. More on accessories, some PlayStation party games. That'll be a good feature. And then looks like they've got more. Of course, they've got more on Tomb Raider 2. They're going to probably try to have everything, or they're going to try to have something on Tomb Raider 2 every single month, I would imagine, just because that's how these magazines worked back then. You had a giant game coming out, you would look for any reason to put it in the magazine so you could just mention it on the cover and maybe get someone to buy. And that's it. We've got some ads on the inside of the back cover here. The whole "she'll break your heart, kick your butt" thing, very played out, but they decided over at Midway that they would advertise Mace the Dark Age with that line. Go for it, I guess. And then an ad here for Formula One on the very back cover. So that's issue 2 of PSM, official 100%. Actually 100% independent PlayStation Magazine, not official, right? Not the official mag at all. So they would cringe if they heard me say that, I suppose. But yeah, thanks for taking a look at it with me. Again, this was my favorite issue. I'm going to keep going through these. We'll do up issue 3 soon, and then 4 and 5, and try to keep these coming out at a regular interval. Have a lot of fun looking back at these, and I hope you do too. So thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you next time.